Comment 1596 reminds you that trial and improvement is a dangerous method for solving equations. In general, you should only use it if you're trying to get an estimate or if you're explicitly instructed to. You should never use it as your first port of call if you have to solve an ordinary equation, especially not in an exam. One of the reasons why it's not perfect is because it only produces an approximate answer. So the real answer might be, I don't know, root 3, but you end up thinking that it's 1.7, which is not quite the same thing. But there's another reason, which is that the whole process leads you psychologically into a situation where you forget that there might be more than one answer. When you solve a quadratic like this, we train you to remember that there are two possible answers. So for example, the quadratic formula spits out two answers. The bracket, the factorization method, spits out two answers. But once you undergo the painful process of trial and improvement, you're usually so relieved when it's finished that you forget that there's probably two answers. So comment 1596 reminds you that you should be alive to this fact. Now, what does it mean for you practically? Well, practically it just means that you should do the question twice. So when you start by putting in the number 2 and getting something that's too high, and putting in the number 3 and getting something that's too low, then the process begins. But what I'm saying is, just try it again. So sub in 4, sub in 5, get something too high, too low. Or if you get something too high and too high, try something else. Sub in 5, sub in 6, get something too high, get something too low. And then the process begins. So you'll end up with an answer between 5 and 6, I don't know, 5.3. You'll end up with an answer between 2 and 3, I don't know, for example, 2.1. So there are your two answers. It simply says do the procedure twice, okay? And to get the procedure going, you just have to do some guessing. Now, how do you know whether it's worth your while? That's where your graphing skills are important. So, for example, if x squared equals 10, just imagine graphing x squared. That's a standard bucket, parabola shape. Imagine graphing 10, that's a horizontal line. Well, there's going to be two answers. So that tells you that if you want to do trial and improvement properly, you need to do the procedure twice. Another example. Depending on how old you are, you'll have the skills to graph this. Year 12s definitely do. Now, this very quick sketch doesn't tell me how high and how low those are, but if I was solving x cubed minus x equals 100, that 100 is going to be way up there. There's probably only going to be one solution. Whereas if I was solving x cubed minus x equals 0.1, which is down there, there's probably going to be two solutions. So you just have to play this by ear, use your graphing skills to get an estimate of how many solutions you want, and then once you've found them with trial and improvement, you can feel safe in stopping.